Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. This is our monthly meeting, and as is our custom at this time, I'm going to introduce Police Officer Kevin Lowry. If he'd please come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, if we'd all please stand. Officer Lowry will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Officer Lowry. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that have not been here before, let me give you a little insight on how we're going to conduct the meeting today. The first thing that we will concern ourselves with is the consent agenda. These are applications that not only this board has reviewed, but our professional, our zoning, and our engineering staff have reviewed. To our knowledge, there's no known opposition to any of these particular cases. So we will proceed with Mr. Peterson will read these into the record. As he does, the applicant, he or she, will identify themselves by raising their hand. Likewise, if there is anybody here in opposition to these particular cases, if they would identify themselves by raising their hand, and if we do have opposition, we will pull that particular case and hear it in its regular numeric order. Once we complete that, we will go into the consent agenda. Again, Mr. Peterson will read these into the record. Again, the applicant will identify themselves. And again, the opposition will identify themselves. At that time, the applicant will have a 10-minute period to make his presentation to this board, and all presentation will be given to the podium to my right. At that time, the applicant will have a 10-minute period to make the presentation. Likewise, and collectively, those of you that are in opposition, you will also have a 10-minute period to make your presentation to this board. And please just be cognizant of the fact that you have a 10-minute period. Once that is complete, I think that should complete our business for today. And at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Peterson, our head zoning administrator, if he has any comments to make to this board. John?
Yes, sir, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 4 cases on today's agenda which will not be heard today. First case is variance case V69, Julie's Plaza LLC. That case has been withdrawn by the staff and will not be heard today. Variance case V40, Global ATM Services LLC. That case was continued by the staff and will not be heard today. Variance case V52, Mark William and Sally Stewart Money. That case has been continued by the staff and will not be heard today. And lastly, variance case V56, E.E. Pennington. That case was continued by the staff and will not be heard today. All those continued cases will be heard on May 13th, 2015. I would like to ask the people in today's audience to please put your cell phones on silent mode. When they go off, they do interfere with the broadcast and presentation. So if you have a cell phone, please put it in silent mode. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we're ready to start the consent agenda.
Okay, let's just jump right in. I believe V3 is the first one we're going to talk about.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals variance hearing consent agenda for April 1st, 2015. Variance case V3, Total Imaging, request a variance to allow an electronic sign on a property with less than 200 feet of road frontage on one road, and it's 171.64 feet on Roswell Road. Number 2, increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 70% to 80%, and to increase the allowable sign area from 65 square feet to 94 square feet in land lot 899 of the 16th District. The property is located at the southwest corner of East Cobb Drive and Roswell Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the signage to meet the sign code. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V3? Let the zoning record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V42, Michael Ackley, requests a variance to allow an accessory structure, an existing 897 square foot detached garage to be located to the side of the principal building, and the way of the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for the proposed 897 square foot detached garage from required 100 feet to 4 feet adjacent to the southern property line, in land lot 894 of the 19th District. The property is located on the west side of Hiram Lithia Springs Road, south of Morris Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to within 60 days, renovate the garage to match the new house. And site plan received January 8th, 2015 for the encroachment shown only. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V42? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V46, Thomas D. Smith requests a variance to waive the setbacks for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a 400 square foot proposed building number 1 from required 10 feet adjacent to the northern property, to the northern side property line to 5 feet, and from required 35 feet adjacent to the rear property line to 8 feet. Waive the setbacks for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for the 400 square foot building number 2 from required 10 feet adjacent to the southern property line to 2 feet, and from required 35 feet adjacent to the rear property line to 13 feet. And finally, waive the side setback for a building under 144 square feet for building number 3 from 5 feet to 4.5 feet in land lots 999 and 1000 of the 19th District. The property is located on the north side of Westfield Drive, north of Williamsburg Court. Staff recommends approval of variance, subject to the site plan received February 9th, 2015, for the shown encroachments only. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V46? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V47, Calvin and Kiana Ward request a variance to allow an accessory structure, a car awning to be located to the front of the principal structure, and the awning is unattached. Waive the front setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet from required 35 feet to 12 feet. Waive the setback for an accessory structure, a basketball court, from required 10 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the east property line, and from required 30 feet to 12 feet adjacent to the north property line. And to waive the setback for an existing tool shed, the second accessory structure, from required 5 feet to 3 feet in land lot 646 of the 19th District. The property is located on the north side of Ridgecrest Drive, west of Valley View Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 2nd, 2015, for the shown encroachments only. And stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V47? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V48, Mark Tischler requests a variance to allow an accessory structure, a proposed pool and spa, to be to the side of the principal building or structure in land lot 897 of the 16th District. The property is located on the north side of Providence Road, east of Pine Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the sewer comments. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for V48, Mark Tischler? Is there anyone here opposed to this variance application? Let the record show there's no one opposed, Mr. Chairman, and the applicant.
Okay, as is our policy at this time, Madam Clerk, if you would try to contact that applicant, if the applicant can be here today before our business is closed, we'll handle that. If not, we'll have to hold it. So let's move on to 49, John.
Yes, sir. Variance case V49, Clifford Meinhard requests a variance to waive the front setback from required 20 feet to 17.9 feet, waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 22 feet, and waive the maximum allowable impervious surface from 45% to 55% in land lots 907 and 954 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north side of Courtyard Drive, south of Bainbridge Way. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 10th, 2015, for the shown encroachments only. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V49? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V50, Rawmark LP requests a variance to waive the minimum number of parking spaces from required 1,190 to 1,047 parking spaces in land lots 784, 785, and 801 of the 17th District. The property is located at the northern terminus of Laurel Valley Drive, which is a private road, north of Terrell Mill Road, and west of Interstate 75. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V50? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V53, Jack and Cheryl Ingram request a variance to waive the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 39.09%, and to allow an accessory structure, a proposed pool, to be to the side of the principal structure in land lots 1050 and 1111 of the 16th District. The property is located at the western terminus of Clubland Terrace, west of Clubland Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan dated March 30th, 2015. Maximum impervious surface to be 38.59%. And stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V53? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V55, Leonard and Erica Kim request a variance to waive the front setback from required 35 feet to 24 feet, and that is existing, and to waive the minimum lot size from required 15,000 square feet to 13,836 square feet, and that is also existing, in land lot 426 of the 16th District. The property is located on the southeast corner of Bells Ferry Road and Chastain Manor Way. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 12, 2015, for the shown encroachments only. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V55? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V57, Burger King, requests a variance to allow a wall sign to project more than 24 inches from the building surface on which it is attached in land lot 27 of the 19th District. The property is located at the southwest intersection of Ernest Barrett Parkway and Dallas Highway. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the letter of intent received February 12, 2015. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V57? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V58, Vinings Overlook LLC, request a variance to waive the maximum building height from 52 feet and no more than 4 stories to allow 5 stories and approximately 68 feet in land lots 885 and 909 of the 17th District. The property is located on the west side of Overlook Parkway, north of Paces Ferry Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 12, 2015. Restaurant to be used by hotel patrons only, and Cobb DOT to review the FAA study. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V58? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V60, CIS Marietta LLC, request a variance to increase the maximum allowable sign area from 132 square feet from previous variance V106 of October 1st, 2014 to 143.75 square feet in land lot 851 of the 17th District. The property is located on the east side of Corporate Plaza Parkway, south of Windy Hill Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the sign rendering received February 12, 2015, and sign to be a maximum of 143.75 square feet, and the sign can be smaller. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V60? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V61, Frank Madania requests a variance to waive the maximum impervious surface from required 35 feet to 38 feet in land lot 224, the 1st District. The property is located on the south side of St. Lion Court, west of St. Lion Place. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 12, 2015, for the encroachments shown only. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V61? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V62, Paul Manley requests a variance to waive the public road frontage from 75 feet to 0 feet for lot number 6, and to allow a second house off a private easement in land lot 772 of the 16th District. The property is located on the eastern side of East Piedmont Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the following conditions: site plan review comments and fire department comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V62?
Okay. I see two hands are raised, so we will pull case V62, and we will hear that as it comes up in its regular numeric order.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Yes, sir. Variance case V63, Scott Moore requests a variance to waive the rear setback from required 35 feet to 29 feet in land lots 172 and 173 of the 19th District. The property is located at the southern terminus of Paces Farm Trail, south of Hoyle Farm Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 12, 2015, for the shown encroachments only. Is the applicant here? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V63? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V64, Curley Family Homes, request a variance to waive the distance between houses from required 15 feet to 14.4 feet in land lot 983 of the 19th District. The property is located on the south side of Lynn Road, east of Lynn Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 12, 2015, for the shown encroachments only. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V64? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V65, MRK Barrett Creek LLC, request a variance to waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 28 feet in land lot 643 of the 16th District. The property is located on the south side of Ernest Barrett Parkway, east of Barrett Creek Boulevard. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 12, 2015, for the shown encroachments only. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V65? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V66, Larry C. Wright requests a variance to allow an accessory structure, an existing frame shed, to be closer to the side street right-of-way line in the principal building, and to waive the rear setback from required 35 feet to 23 feet in land lot 488 of the 18th District. The property is located at the northern intersection of Catherine Court and Sybil Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan received February 12, 2015, for the shown encroachments only. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V66?
Okay, we will pull case V66, and we will also hear that as it comes up in its regular numeric order.
Okay. Variance case V68, Country Plantation HOA, request a variance to waive the setback for a neighborhood recreation center from required 100 feet to 15 feet in land lot 206 of the 16th District. The property is located at the western terminus of Allison Jane Drive, west of Scarlet Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the following conditions. Site plan received February 12, 2015, for the shown encroachments only, and sewer division comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V68? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And moving on to other business items on consent agenda. Other business item number 1, to amend the variance minutes relating to variance application V115 of 2014 for property located on the south side of Yale Court, east of Courtyard Drive, and south of Tanglewood Drive in land lot 907 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to the maximum allowable impervious surface to be 54% and all previous stipulations not in conflict. Is there anyone here opposed to this item? Let the record show there's no one opposed to other business item number 1. Other business item number 2, to consider amending the site plan for variance application V91 of 2014 for property located on the east side of East Cobb Drive, north of Johnson Ferry Road, in land lot 902 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to the site plan received February 13, 2015, and all previous stipulations not in conflict. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 2? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And that completes the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Very good, Mr. Peterson. At this time, I've noticed some other folks have come in. Let's call V48 again to see if that applicant is here. Is the applicant here on case B48?
Mark Tischler?
Mark Tischler once,
No.
twice? Madam Secretary, have we made an attempt to call the applicant? Did you reach them? Okay. Okay, again, we will hold V48, and with the exception of V48, V62 that we will hear publicly, and V66, again, that we will hear publicly. It's back to this board for discussion or comments. Ms. Williams?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of V48, 62, and 66.
Okay, I've got a motion, I've got a second. Any other comments, discussions, or comments from any board members? Not hearing any, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Okay, Madam Secretary, that vote is 5-0 to approve those cases with the exception of V48, V62, and V66. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you were lucky enough to be on the consent agenda, your business is complete with us for today. It is April Fool's Day, so there's no joke. You've been approved. I'd suggest that you leave quietly, go home, go out and play golf. It's a beautiful day. Do something and spend some money. And if you would all please leave quietly, we will continue our business. John, we're going to wait a couple of seconds, let this crowd die down. I still have another announcement to make. Remember, the legislature's still in session, so they're taxing us to death down there. Y'all pray that we don't get overtaxed in the next couple of days. Go spend some money in Cobb County. No, I'm not going to make that announcement, no. I see our new attorney is looking at me like I've got two heads, so I've got to be careful. I'm going to the edge, John. I got to make sure I don't go over the edge. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are left, let me explain to you. As we call your case, our officer of the day is Miss Kim Wakefield. So those of you that are going to give testimony, we're going to ask you to come up. Miss Wakefield will swear you in, and then you will give testimony to the podium to my right. With that said, John, I guess our first one would be V51, is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's go to that.
Yes, sir. Variance case V51, Carol Young, requests a variance to waive the minimum public road frontage from required 75 feet to 42.5 feet for lot number 2, and to waive the front setback for proposed lot number 2 from required 40 feet to 35 feet, in land lot 136 of the First District. The property is located on the southern side of Timber Ridge Road, west of Little Willio Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V51? Let the record show there are 2 people opposed. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Okay, we will take the applicant first. The podium's over there. Okay, for the purpose of the record, let's identify ourselves, please, first. Madam, give us your name.
My name is Carol Young.
Okay, and sir?
Art Garrison.
Okay, now you have a 10-minute period to tell us what you want to do.
Carol owns the home at 5010 Timber Ridge Road, and it is a little bit over a 1 acre lot. We don't have the necessary road frontage to do 2 lots, and we are asking for a variance for that. There is precedent for that on the Timber Ridge Road area. There's no zoning issue with this request. It is zoned correctly. And again, we're just asking for a reduction in road frontage for one of the lots.
All right, you have a little time. Anything else you want to tell us? Are you going to have big house, small house? I'm sorry? Is it a big house, small house?
The existing home is probably, 3,500 square foot older contemporary in style home, the existing home.
Right.
So that home would be torn down by a builder, and new homes would be probably two homes, probably in the price range of between $800,000 and $1 million each. And the owner of the home is actually trying to downsize and move on, and this is actually the highest and best use of their land. They're going to get more out of their land and home this way than they would in any other form or fashion.
Anything else you'd like to tell us?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Ms. Young, anything you'd like to add to that?
Nothing except that we do need to downsize, and my husband can't take care of all that property, and I can't clean the house. It's a 3-story house. So we are wanting to downsize.
Okay. All right, thank you. If you just have a seat, at this time, we'll hear from the opposition.
Thank you.
All right, those in opposition, if you'd like to come forward. Now, again, for the record, if you would, give us your name, please,
Yes, my name is Jim Dalton.
and the young
I'm
lady.
Marcia Dalton.
Okay, Marcia, okay, sir, go right ahead.
My wife and I live a block east of this location on Timber Ridge Road. And we oppose the B51 variance request. The variance request V51 doesn't show any hardship issue that would justify approval. V51 merely shows that someone wants to put two houses on a lot that's not large enough, but for one house. It appears to me that V51 was submitted to enhance a developer's profit, but that is not a hardship issue. Someone's profit should not be considered when judging the merits of a variance request. V51 proposes to build one house behind another house on a lot that is too small to support two houses, according to the Cobb County Code. This does nothing positive for the neighborhood. In fact, it would be an eyesore to the neighborhood. Right next door to this lot at 5020 Timber Ridge Road, a very nice house was completed recently on a larger lot than V51 property. If V51 were approved, it would damage the value of an appeal of the adjoining lot and affect other houses on Timber Ridge Road. Please vote no to V51.
Okay. Ms. Dalton?
Well, I'm going to piggyback on my husband's sentiments, and when we first discovered the request, we were extremely disturbed by it, primarily because it appears that somebody wants to do something without working within the parameters of the code. And, I've been exposed to the code the last few years and value it and value its protection of us and the neighborhood. And I'm really afraid that this is going to open the door for a lot worse on that corridor. And Timber Ridge is already a busy street. This could do nothing but harm our neighborhood. So I oppose it, and I hope that it's denied.
Okay, now you have a little time left. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
Can't think of anything.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak in opposition to case B51? Hearing and not seeing anybody, I declare the public session over, and at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Kim Swanson, who represents the district, to lead us into discussion. Ms. Swanson?
When looking at this V51 and the property and what they're proposing to place on this home are tandem-style homes with one driveway, I have to go back to what we, as a variance commission, has to look at is what is required of variances, and those are hardships. And the hardship is based on the size, shape, and the topography of the property. So looking at this property, it really has no hardship on that. It has a single-family home on it now that seems to be serving that property well. So then after I look at, okay, there's no hardship, but then how will this impact the community? And I drove around Timber Ridge for a while, looking at all the different types of homes and the different types of properties, and went up and down, and also looked at V51, that house. And there aren't any homes in that community that have tandem homes on a piece of property. I have received, and that includes the Daltons, who just came today to speak. I have received 6 letters of neighbors in opposition. 2 of them are in the back of the property on a cul-de-sac on a road called Thor's Rock. And I also have a letter of opposition that is to the south of the property. On here, it looks like the house is under construction. It's actually done. They're in opposition as well. So when I look at the 2 homes to the back of the property and the homes south of the property in opposition by placing the tandem homes on a lot that is going to require relief from a variance to fit, I really feel that this is going to have an adverse impact to this community by allowing this reduction of footage. This type of development doesn't really necessarily fit into the neighborhood. So with those concerns, looking in the area, seeing that there is no hardship based upon the guidelines that we are to follow, I'm ready to make my motion.
Okay, before we do that, any other comments from board members? Okay, we're ready for the motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny V51.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Trombetti. Any other comments or from the board? Not hearing any. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, we're going to deny V51 with a vote of 5-0. All right, Mr. Peterson, let's go to our next one. I believe 54 will be our next case.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case V54, Franklin E. Bird, request a variance to waive the public road frontage on Lot 5 from required 75 feet to 10 feet, waive the minimum lot width at the front setback for Lot 5 from required 75 feet to 10 feet, waive the front setback on Lot 5 from required 45 feet to 12 feet, waive the rear setback on Lot 5 from required 40 feet to 12 feet, waive the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed 2,500 square foot detached garage on Lot 5 from required 100 feet to 14 feet adjacent to the northern property line, and allow a aforesaid structure to be to the side of the proposed primary structure on Lot 5 in land lot 276 of the 20th District. The property is located on the south side of Kennesaw Due West Road, west of Burke Lake Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V54? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
All right, sir, for the purpose of the record, if you would, give us your name, please, first.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and board members. For the record, my name is David Meyer, the owner of DGM Land Planning Consultants. I'm representing Mr. Frank Bird and Mr. Tony Bird, both of whom are present today. They're both co-applicants of V54. Our subject property is located south of Kennesaw Due West, approximately 1/2 mile east of Ackworth Due West Road in land lot 276 of the 20th District of West Cobb. As you've already seen in your package prepared by Cobb County staff, our variance is rather straightforward, and that is to subdivide what is currently platted as Lot 4 into 2 lots. In order to accommodate this lot, we're asking for a reduction in public road frontage from the required 75 feet to 10 feet. Also within this proposed lot, we're asking for setback variances to accommodate the proposed house and detached garage shown on the site plan. As well as this request is to place the detached garage, the accessory structure within 14 feet of the exterior property line in front of the house's rear plane, as shown on site plan. Splitting the existing Lot 4 will result in two lots that are respectively 1.04 acres and 1.21 acres, well above the required minimum of the property's current R30 zoning. This request is a little bit unique. It's obviously not an attempt to try to squeeze every bit of density onto this unique site in West Cobb. Mr. Todd Bird, who's also present, is the son of Mr. Frank Bird. He would simply like to build his personal residence on what is shown as Lot 5 and have an additional lot to quite possibly keep it as it is or to be able to pass on to a family member in the future. Mr. Todd Bird's father, applicant Mr. Frank Bird, currently resides on what is shown as Lot 1, just to the south. Todd Bird's uncle, Mr. Tony Bird, who's also present, currently resides on Lot number 3, which is a custom home which was built by Todd Bird and completed within approximately a year ago. So as you can see, this is very much a family affair. Lot number 2 shown on the plat is owned by Christy and Robert Hayes. And as you can see on the petition that I've just distributed, they have signed the petition in support of the application. In addition to Christy and Robert Hayes, our petition of support includes 6 other contiguous property owners, namely Mr. Hilton Smith, who resides immediately to the north of the property. He would be the party that would be the most affected by this, if anyone, from this application. We've received no objections to our petition, and my understanding is that the county has received no objections as well. Vehicle and emergency access to lots 1 and 2 will still be provided by the private access off Burke Lake Road as shown, at Burke Lake Road and Hickory Crest Drive. Access to lots 3, 4, and 5 will be provided off Kennesaw Due West by way of a 30-foot private easement, which already exists. We've reviewed all staff comments, including fire department concerns, and we're amenable to all those stipulations. So in conclusion, we feel this variance is certainly reasonable. We all know that a request such as this, in which the minimum lot size greatly exceeds the minimum allowed by several times, not by several times, but by a sizable amount, rarely causes objections or negative thoughts within the community. And again, I thank your professional staff for assisting us and answering questions, and we respectfully ask for your approval of this petition. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Meyer, let me, before I get started, is there anybody here in opposition to V54? Okay, hearing and not seeing anybody, it's still back to this board. Before I turn it over to Mr. Gunther, Mr. Meyer, it might be wise for you to take a pointer and, again, point out who lives where and how they get in and how they get out. I'm not quite sure I followed you, but if you would take a pointer and lead us with the survey.
No problem, Mr. Homan. Also, I wanted to point out, Mr. Todd Bird just pointed out to me there was an error on the app. It's that the detached garage is actually 1,500 square foot. It's not 2,500 square feet. So just wanted to point that out as well. Let's see. This is a current 30-foot private access easement, which is already in place, and it connects to Mr. Frank Bird's property, this is his home as it's situated right here. So this current 30-foot easement is already in place. It's actually been completed and paved right up to this point, this being Mr. Tony Bird's property, and it will be completed all the way to form a complete loop all the way through. Lots number 1 and 2, which are already existing, of course, they've already been accessed and approved by access from Hickory Crest Drive to Burke Lake and down through an existing driveway, which is already in place. So really, as far as access, there's nothing that has not been approved and reviewed already by the fire department or other departments.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us about that?
I just feel like this is a unique piece of property. Coincidentally, my family was fortunate enough to have been tenants of lot number 2 for 2 or 3 years, and it's a beautiful piece of property. We happen to know the Birds and the surrounding property owners. And I can assure you, this is not an attempt to, just to try to squeeze density in. It's a unique piece of property, and I know they have every intent of keeping it that way for many years to come.
All right, at this point, I've declared a public session over, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Skip Gunther, who's in the District Commission. Mr. Gunther?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you made a good case. The applicant seeks a variance of this property known as Burke Lake Enclave. I'm just going to go over a couple of the points that he made. There have been 2 Board of Zoning appeal judgments and approvals that have been made over the years, March 14th, 2007, and February 11th, 2009, which have yielded the site plan that we see, less this specific action to take Lot 4 and divide it into 2 lots, which would each be a little bit over an acre, and so they would satisfy, more than satisfy the zoning requirements. To accomplish what you're trying to do, you need to have these 6 variances acted on and approved. Before we go into that, though, I would like to ask a question regarding the fire department requirements.
Sure.
When you and I talked last night, we talked about the one requirement, the fire department needs to have 1,000 feet. If it's more than 1,000 feet, then they need to have a turnaround place on the road, on the access road.
Correct.
This road is overall length is roughly 1,000 feet, I think you told me.
Yes,
But
sir.
it has
Yeah.
two exit and entrance points, one on each end.
Correct.
So my question is, having driven around the area there, I can see where a fire engine, I think, can make probably pretty good access from Kennesaw due west. But I'm concerned about the Burke Lake Road access. Is that going to allow a fire engine to navigate through there?
It does, yes, sir. The Burke Lake Road is already, it's actually paved all the way down through where it says, let's see if I can point that out for you.
Well, it's paved down just to the, where Burke Lake, where Hickory Crest turns, isn't it? It's paved a little bit past that. Yes, I saw that yesterday.
That's good. Yes, sir. When you come off the elbow of Hickory Crest Drive, it actually looks like a private drive, and a private driveway rather, but it's actually paved down to where Mr. Bird's current driveway is, which is also paved. It's paved to that point. So you've currently got fire access all the way through. As far as the 1,000 feet is concerned, this complete loop is over 1,000 feet, but there's no dead end to it. It's a continuous loop to where it could go all the way through. As far as the access to lot number 2, that's currently already in place. Nothing's already being changed to that one, and it's previously been approved on the other variance. So that I don't know if there's anyone here from the fire department. I believe they're talking about if it goes to a certain point of 1,000 feet then they would require a turnaround if there's
That's
no
right.
way to continue out. Correct. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you on that.
You're welcome.
I'm trying to understand exactly what the hardship is. I think that what Mr. Byrd is doing is admirable, to have a large piece of property and subdivide it into pieces of property that members of the family can purchase and live on.
Sure.
And, the subdivision, seems to meet the code.
Mm-hmm.
But as we mentioned earlier, there needs to be a hardship. Trying to fully understand exactly what the hardship might be.
Sure. As I mentioned, it's a family situation here, but but different in respect to other cases where it's not a developer trying to necessarily increase his profits. Mr. Todd Bird has a young family like myself, and he currently could not pick up the entire land by himself financially at this juncture. So that would be a primary reason of being able to subdivide it to do that, to where he could have ownership in his father's name or uncle's name for a period of time, and but still be able to take ownership of it at the future as he could purchase that lot.
Okay. And I guess also, Mr. Franklin Byrd would like to reserve that remaining Lot 4 possibly for use for future members of the family, right?
That is correct, and he's present as well if you needed to hear that or have any questions for him as well.
Yeah, okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you.
Other board members, Ms. Williams?
David, when the other variances come in, they said this the last time the variance came in, they said that's all they needed. They had, pretty much developed it out, or plotted it the way they would need it for their family.
right.
And now we're faced with, no, that's not the case, we want to subdivide it. And it seems like there's not really a hardship as much as it's a financial for him.
It is, again, it's a family situation. It's not a objection. In theory, they could come in and even under its current zoning with 30,000 square foot lots, they could take a combination of lots 3, 4, 5, and 1 and subdivide that into, I haven't run the numbers, but possibly 6, 7, or 8 lots. Keeping within the family, some dynamics change and, wanting to have something available for a future member. So I hear what you're saying. It's just that as I think at that time, Mr. Todd Bird had not intended or necessarily knew he was going to be building on that property. So that kept them with the 4 lots. That would be excluding the lot
Yeah,
number
but what
2.
is to keep them from coming back and asking for more variance, because you have some large acreage lots, 1 and 2.
Well,
What's to keep them from coming in and wanting to sell off a portion of theirs?
sure. Number one, we're running out. Public frontage is going to run out.
Well,
and,
you've run out of it anyway.
Sure, that would be a problem. And of course, as we know, someone has the right to petition for it and at any point in the future, but that's something that would have to be considered on an individual basis.
Because I look at it and I see, you know the ordinance as well as I do. 3 or more houses constitutes the subdivision. We
Sure.
passed the subdivision portion of it.
Sure.
We don't meet the code, we don't meet the stormwater management, any of those things. So there is no stormwater management.
Correct, that's because they're large enough lots, so stormwater wouldn't apply in this case per se. But I mean, I would just, my answer to that would just be each case would have to be looked on individually for that. As far as I know, there's no intent to come back in the future and subdivide once again.
And I have one other question too.
Sure.
The garage, tell me about the garage.
Yes, ma'am. It is, again, it was listed as being 2,500 square feet. It is, it's in fact 1,500 square feet. It is, it's just a garage, a detached garage. And architecturally, the way that Mr. Todd Bird would like to position his house and situate that garage, he's got it toward the north property line. And he wanted to have enough separation from his existing residence, but still keep it screened from Mr. Hilton Smith, who lives to the north. So that's why we currently have it situated. And again, we have Mr. Hilton Smith's petition of support here. There's, even though it shows 14 feet off the line, that's from that neck of property. So there's actually an additional 10 feet of property which goes to Mr. Hilton Smith's property line. So there's actually more than 14 feet there.
One
from
more
his
thing.
yeah.
And then lots 1 and 2, those are not family members, are they?
Lot 1 is Mr. Frank Bird, who's present,
Okay.
and lot number 2 is the only one that's not a family member.
Okay.
That's the Hayes, and they're also in support of the petition.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other comments? Mrs. Trompetti?
I have a comment and then a question for staff. I was looking at the stormwater management statement, and it says, if approved, a stipulation must be put in place that any further lot splits would require stormwater management facilities. And that's where it becomes more of
Sure.
a subdivision, I guess, that would meet all the subdivision standards.
Sure.
That's the way I interpret that. And then my question is for Mr. Peterson. Isn't there something in the code that talks about the Board of Zoning Appeals and how we review and consider cases, the different types of hardships, but also when there's a lack of a hardship, cases can still be considered and granted as long as it doesn't create harm or some negative situation for a neighbor. Isn't there something in there that says that, or have we just always?
There may be something in there, Commissioner Trombetti, but in this case, there is a hardship. The shape of this lot,
Okay.
it's really odd. It's got a 10-foot leg going out to the road that's probably 800 feet long. So there is no way for them to get the required amount of public road frontage here. And on the picture here, you see the GIS map. The shape of the property would prohibit them from getting the required amount of public road frontage. So that could qualify as the hardship. And that's what they checked on their application as the hardship, was the shape of the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Just by way of a comment, Skip, this is typical West Cobb. In all the years previous, we've had horse farms, and it seems to me this is going to be a family compound. I think these are kind of things that we'd like to encourage. So I think the stormwater and also the fire marshal, they don't answer to anybody. And when they go through plan review, the fire marshal will make sure that's all set in place. So, with that, I turn it over to Mr. Gunther.
I have one last question of you before I think about a motion. Would you consider accepting a stipulation that said no further subdivision of this overall property known as Burke Lake Enclave? Just to alleviate some of the concerns that I think I'm hearing. I'm suggesting no more than 5 lots as proposed in this variance application.
So the answer would be yes to that.
So that would eliminate that concern. Okay, thank you.
Well, let me ask a question about that. What if someone else purchases the land at some point? Certainly they have a right to sell. What if somebody decides they do want to come in for zoning one day or build an R30 neighborhood on it? That would be further subdivision of the property. I'm a little
Okay.
concerned about.
At the end of the day, I guess
Maybe
someone
that's
could
not-
purchase.
I like the idea. I like the idea a lot, but I think implementing that later might be difficult.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, in theory, someone could purchase all the lots and bring it in and and I don't know if there's ever a way to, to avoid that, but that would be, kind of be a different.
Well, we never know what the future's gonna
Sure,
hold, and
sure.
it's hard to go
We think
out
we
there.
do,
Yeah.
but we don't really.
As far as what Mr. Gunther just said, we can't put conditions on property that's not part of the variance. So
Okay.
lot 3, 1, and 2 cannot be burdened with
Right.
that
Okay,
condition.
Good. It was just a thought, just trying to explore this. Okay, well, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve this variance request V54, subject to the site plan review comments, the stormwater management comment, and the fire department comments.
Good motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, I've got a second for discussion. Now I'm open to discussion. Mr. Peterson, do you have a comment?
In Mr. Gunther's motion, can we just reflect in the minutes that the detached garage at number 5 is actually 1,500 square feet, not 2,500?
Yes, okay.
In the minutes. Okay.
Recognizing it's 1,500 square feet, not 25.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm in the discussion period. Judy, you have a comment?
No,
No.
I was just doing that for John to talk.
I think we've got a good motion. I think
Okay.
this is what we want in West Cobb. This is the family atmosphere. Got a good motion. I got a good second. Any other comment? Not hearing any. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries for approval 5-0. You all be happy
Good.
families out there.
Thank you for doing what you're doing.
All right, John, lead me to my next slaughter.
Next case.
Next case. That's exactly right. It is April Fool's Day. I just want to remind everybody it's April Fool's Day.
I got that. Thank you. Variance case V59, Matthew T. Kuhn, requests a variance to waive the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed approximately 1,250 square foot two-story garage, from required 100 feet to 28 feet adjacent to the western property line, and from required 100 feet to 10 feet adjacent to the rear property line, and to allow an additional electric meter on a residential lot. In land lot 770 of the 16th District, the property is located on the southwestern corner of Beaver Brook Lane and Beaver Dam Lane. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case V59? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in? And while he's coming up, Mr. Chairman and Board, it's my understanding that variance request number 1 is no longer needed, so we're just considering variance request number 2.
Oh, electrical meters.
Well, if we'd known that an hour ago.
All right, sir, give us your name, please, first.
Matthew Kuhn.
Matthew, tell us what you want.
I want to build a garage in my backyard to work on some hobby vehicles. Since I filed for this original variance, I've found from the water department that there's a sanitary sewer easement that runs through my yard, which I was not aware of. So I had to move the structure, and I had a surveyor come out on Friday and develop another site plan for me, moving the garage inside my yard, outside the easement, if that makes sense. The 20-foot easement plus the 10-foot temporary easement that's
Do
required.
you have the new survey?
Yes, sir, I do.
If you do, give it to that young man right there, and he can put it on the board. We can all see it together.
several copies.
Matthew, we're going to give you a microphone and a pointer, and you can lead us through that.
Okay.
Just give us a second to get it up on the board. Okay, we've got it on the board, so go ahead and explain it.
As you can see, this is my existing house. The sanitary sewer easement that I was actually not aware of runs from the street here, Beaverbrook Lane, through my backyard.
Okay.
I originally had the structure back here, but because of the easements, I moved it inside. Not only the permanent easement, but the 10-foot temporary easement. And reduced the size from 2 stories to 25 by 25 1 story, so it would be 625 square feet. However, I would like to have an attic, if it's at all possible, and a separate electric meter. So I don't want to pull the electric off of my house because I have some heavy equipment, welders, plasma cutters, and such, that I'd like to have in my garage.
All right, anything else you want to tell us?
No, sir.
Do you have a 200 amp service to your house now? Do you know what your amp service?
I don't think so, but there's a transformer across the street over here
Okay.
that I think I might be able to sweet talk George's power into getting me something across the street. I don't know.
Okay. When was your house originally built? Do you know?
Neighborhood's been there since '73. I think the house was built in '74.
Okay. All right, Matthew, anything else you want to tell us?
No, sir. I do have some samples of some photographs of the structures that I'd like to choose from, because I don't know how big this knee walls need to be on the attic.
If you have anything you'd like to show us, now's the time to
Okay.
do it.
These are in order of preference, and I apologize for there being so many. But I don't know what the knee wall requirements, I don't know what the knee wall requirements are for an attic for where it's considered a second story. I want to do it right and not get in trouble with the county. This is actually a picture of the first design I would like to have, if it's at all possible, from the outside. This is the interior, of course, the garage door. and the-
Okay, yeah, we know all that. Go to the next picture.
This is a picture of the second one,
Okay.
which is, if the next page will show that it's an attic, but it's not what I would consider a full floor because of the way the roof rafters are.
Okay.
This is a third one. With you can see the joists here in the smaller attic area.
Yes, sir.
And then this is my last choice, which is just open on the top. It's metal frame
Okay.
construction.
And your first choice is the first one, the one you like the most is the first one. Put
Yes,
that
sir.
back up. All right, anything else you want to tell us, Matthew?
I would have a pull-down attic ladder in it, because I can't have permanent stairs. And I would like to have some sort of a driveway, maybe gravel or crush and run.
What is the height of that building?
That building, I believe, is 21 feet.
Okay. And
That's
how-
right to the peak.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah,
how
you can
tall
take
is
it.
your house?
Pardon?
What's the height? Is it a
My
one-story?
house is also 2 stories, which is...
2 stories?
I don't know,
25?
21, 25.
But let me just follow up on that question. This is down in your lot, though, so it would be a lower structure than where your house is that right? Yeah.
It would not, you wouldn't be able to see it from the front of the house because it would be in the back. My house is in a hole, in a low spot.
All right, Matthew, come back up to the other microphone. And in closing, that's what you need, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anybody here in opposition to case B59 Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Ms. Trombetti represents the district, so I'm going to ask Ms. Trombetti to lead us in discussion. Christie?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for bringing the pictures and working to rearrange your plan so that you don't need as many variances. I think that was a smart thing to do. And since we are really, I guess, just considering item number 2 at this point with regard to the electrical meter, I don't know how much I want to get into the architecture of the garage, but I think choices 2 and 3 would match your home and the neighborhood a little better than number 1. But
Okay.
I'm not stipulating that, but I think the roof line is much more similar to the neighborhood. And you will be able to see it from Beaverbrook Lane, not
Correct.
from the front, but from the side. So I can make a motion with relation to the electrical meter and some other things. I want to make sure, since we are putting something that's going to have electricity back there, I wouldn't like to see it being used for business
No.
activity or living quarters
No.
or anything that would increase the intensity of the residential lot.
It's not gonna be
So-
heated, it won't be cooled, this is specifically to run an air compressor and my own personal
Okay.
tools, it's a hobby
Okay.
that I have. It's what
Okay,
it's
so
for.
I'll add those stipulations to my motion unless there's some other questions.
No, except the fact that Ms. Trombetti has indicated no business. This is strictly a hobby. This
Yes,
is
sir.
not a business. I want to
Correct.
get that on the record. No business, no living in this.
That is correct.
There's not going to be a bathroom or toilet or any water in there or anything
No.
else. Okay. No other comments, Christie? Let's get that motion. Mr. Peterson has a comment.
And I just want to clarify something for the applicant, what he said in his presentation. The access from the road to this building, it has to be paved. It can't be gravel. Has to be paved. If you wanted gravel, that's a totally separate variance that we would need to hold this for to get that. So it's going to have to be paved from the road to the building.
Concrete, or
Yeah,
does it
yeah.
have to be asphalt? or is
It can be concrete.
Okay.
Hardened surface, hardened
Okay.
surface.
Well, that will change the impervious part, right? So I'll need to get a separate variance for that?
No,
No,
On this
no,
lot,
I don't think so. I think you're
The
going
lot's
to be
plenty
okay.
big
You'll
for it.
work, you can work with stormwater management as you bring your plans together.
Okay.
But I think that can be worked out. Is that correct,
Yes,
Mr. Peters?
it can be worked out.
You don't have, there's other things of, where you could use pervious pavers, and there's another system that stormwater management knows about, where it's, you have the ability to drive over it as a driveway, and it also doesn't count towards your impervious, and it's not concrete and it's not asphalt. So you may want to speak to Stormwater, Mr. Braden.
Okay.
And he can tell you about the product that we've been using in a number of variances lately.
Okay.
All right, just to clarify to help you, this gentleman right here, Carl, raise your hand. If you, when you're finished, go see him. He'll give you a card. We'll put you in touch with the right people.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get to the motion, Ms. Trombetti.
Okay. I'm just thinking about that pavement because there's really not a good way to get from your current driveway back to where this
There's
is
a,
located.
there's a double wide gate off of Beaver Brook
Okay, so
Lane,
would,
so I would actually turn into
the
what would be
side.
my backyard
right,
and come in
okay.
that way.
And I think that would be fine. Would that require a variance, some kind of access on Beaver Brook? Okay, okay. I'd like to make a motion then that we approve V59 to allow an additional electric meter on a residential lot. In addition, that there be no business activity or living quarters in the accessory structure proposed.
Okay,
And
I've
subject to all staff comments.
got a motion. Do I have a second to that?
I think he asked, and I don't have a problem with it, that he be allowed to use the attic portion for storage for the pull-down ladder.
Yes.
Whatever is allowed for an accessory structure of
Yeah.
that square footage, that's a building department.
Yeah, and as he described it, it's fine with us, the way he described it, with pull-down steps and unfinished attic.
No permanent steps, pull down is okay.
Okay, how tall can the sidewalks be?
Don't get into all, like, in the building department, you can go with that.
Follow the standards, follow whatever the rules are, and that's fine.
one more thing. The motion is just to approve number 2, right?
Correct.
That's
Okay,
correct.
Thank you.
All right, I've got a motion, I've got a second. I don't have any more comments. I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We approve case number V59 with a 5-0 vote for approval. Thank you, sir.
very much.
John, I believe 62 is our next one.
Yes, sir. Has the applicant come in yet? Mark Tischler? Yes, sir. Okay. Should I go ahead and call that, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah,
again?
let's call, that's V48.
Yes. Okay. Variance case V48, Mark Tischler requests a variance to allow an accessory structure, the proposed pool and spa to be to the side of the principal building in land lot 897 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of Providence Road, east of Pine Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to sewer comments. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
All right, back to this board. Ms. Trombetti, do you have, is that?
It's fine.
Oh, Kim, I'm sorry, Ms. Swanson.
I make a motion that we approve V48
And put it back on the
and
consent.
put it back on the consent agenda.
Second.
And second. Any other comments? Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries for approval 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Don't be late again. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
He'll never come back again.
We don't want to see you.
Yep, you're done.
Yes, sir. With a smile on your face. Leave with a smile on your face. Okay, John, where am I?
V62. Variance case at V62, Paul Manley requests a variance to waive the public road frontage from 75 feet to 0 feet for lot number 6 and to allow a second house off a private easement in land lot 772 of the 16th district. And property is located on the eastern side of East Piedmont Road. The applicant is present. Earlier, there were 2 people opposed. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, sir, for the purpose of the record, if you would, please give us your name.
My name's Paul Manley. I'm the owner.
All right, Mr. Manley, tell us what you want, sir.
Originally, this was 3 lots. I purchased the back 2 lots, and now basically I'd like to split them back out again and sell them. We actually had an offer on the house, on the lots, and because there isn't a road there, it was going to be way too expensive. Their estimates were over $200,000 to put in a road. And so we can't sell the lots and have them buildable without this road and cul-de-sac being put in, without the variance.
I tell you what, let's put your survey up on the screen, and you need to walk us through it.
Okay. Okay,
No,
this is my
wait a minute,
house.
Wait a minute, give us 1 second. Let's get it up on the screen first. Okay, now you can go ahead.
Okay, this is my house. Oh, sorry. This is my house.
Okay,
And this actually used to be 2 other lots. I bought these 2, combined them onto this one, just for tax purposes. We've had this redrawn to, combined to, it's now 40,000 square feet. And putting in this road and cul-de-sac is extremely expensive. This turnaround was added afterwards. The owner of Lot 4 asked if they could put a turnaround there, and since then, he's been using it as a parking space.
all right, now, is Lot 4 an existing house?
Yes, there's a nice house there.
Okay, and is there one next to that? Is there an existing house next?
Here, yes.
Okay, okay.
So this is my house. This is currently all part of the same lot, and we'd like to split it out
Okay.
back closer to what it was originally.
When you split that out, how much property would be on Lot 6?
Lot 6 will be 40,000 square feet.
Okay. And then your existing house would be how many square feet? Or your existing, where you live now, how big is that?
This, this is not the current drawing. You guys have the current drawing? I think the surveyor made a small change to get this, on this line, to get this up to 40,000 square feet. The actual size of this now, I don't know.
Okay. All right. All right, anything else you'd like to tell us, sir?
All I'm basically asking for is the same deal that Lot 4 should have gotten. Be able to have that lot buildable without paying $200,000 for a road and cul-de-sac. Other than that, we've gone over with the fire marshal. They asked for a stipulation letter that if this is ever split, that the full road and cul-de-sac has to be put in. The fire marshal has that. And this is the first time I've done this, so if you have any questions.
No, you're okay. All right, anything else you want to tell us, sir?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
The house has been on the market for over a year. Because of the value of the land, I haven't been able to sell it for what it's worth.
The house, your existing house?
Right now, without this
Okay.
variance, Lot 7 is that whole thing.
Okay, I see.
And I can't sell, it's been on the market for a year, and nobody's not even looking at it. Without splitting off the land, I'd either have to drop the price a lot or,
Okay. All right, sir, is that it? Anything else?
that's it.
If you would, please have a seat. At this time, we will hear from the opposition. Yes, sir. Your name, please, first.
My name's Robert Fisher.
Okay, Mr. Fisher.
I live on the Lot 4. Can I give you just a little history on how everything kind of, I bought the land off my parents in 1988. They live on 1840 East Piedmont, which our backyards adjoin. So I bought this in 88. I built the house from 88 and we moved into it in 95. At that time when there was Dayron Court, there was no driveway. My wife and I had called for the dirt road list. We're on dirt road list, but they said, it could be 20 years. So over the years, every year we'd ask, is it going to be paved or anything? And after we moved into 95, they said, honey, you should just pave it yourself because we would come off of East Piedmont. I have pictures here if this would help.
Sure. You have a little time. You can show us whatever you
in
want.
95, I got tired of being on the dirt road and the gravel and all that and putting it on there in the mud. So when we moved in with our third child, I paved it. And at that time,
All right, now we're looking at the pictures.
Okay.
Tell us what we're looking at.
all right, this picture.
Wait a minute. Let me give you a microphone. Got to do everything on record.
All right. You hear me? Okay, this is down here, right here. Okay, this is East Piedmont Road right here, and you come down this road right here, over. Well, can't do it. Over to the Lot 4. So this turnaround right here was just a turnaround. So if I wanted to turn in and out, yeah, I have a trailer there, but it's 300 feet off the road. You can't even see it because it goes down. So when I go into my house, I poured this driveway right here. And if you look right here, Mr. Manley asked if he could, how can I do that? Asked if he could use this road up here. How do I get to it? Look at it right here. He asked to use this right here at the back, and I said that was fine for him to get to the back of his house where he has area. And when they four-lane the road up front, he asked if he could hook onto the driveway, which I had poured, and go into his driveway this way up front instead of towards his garage. So, we've had no problem with that. And our other neighbor, there's 3 houses on East Piedmont. Mine, Mr. Manley's, and Miss Kim. So we already got 3 people on that one little road that I paved. So my question is, I built the house. I had to abide by all the Cobb County codes to put the cul-de-sac in, whether it was put in or not. I had to abide by that. and as he found out that it was truly, I was in my boundaries. Most of the boundaries are on his side. So what I'm asking is, I think the cul-de-sac, if somebody wants to buy that land, there's plenty enough land for the cul-de-sac to be put in. And that's my only gripe. You know, if he wants to sell the land, I have no problem with that. I just feel that if the landowner wants to buy the land, as far as if there's gonna be another house put in there, I feel it needs to be a turnaround and to get in and out. Because I just feel that, you know, I work very hard for this house. I need, you know, I'd like, you know, I put my soul into this house, and I feel that it should have some, you know, a nice cul-de-sac if another house wants to be put in there. There's about 1.5 acres that can be done. And that's my main gripe right there. Other than that, you know, I don't care if he sells the house or whatever.
All right. Anything else you'd like to tell us, Mr. Fisher?
You know, and the other concern I have is if you grant him from 75 to 0, what do I am entitled to or not entitled to? Is the driveway still there? You know, because they're going to put, if they tear down the house and the trees, you're going to logging trucks. You've got heavy equipment coming up and down that road right there. So what happens then? You know, what happens to me then? So, you know, I don't think it's a hardship on him to sell this land. I think he wants to, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But I have to know also when he leaves, I have to deal with a small road to come in and get this. This is heavily wooded, lots of trees. How are they going to go in and out right there unless they use that little road right there? So, just saying that, you know, I have several concerns. You know, if you do it, do I get so many feet? Does he get so many feet? I don't know how you would split that off.
Okay, just let me ask one question. The driveway or the road that you built to your property, is that, did you build it on your property or is that on?
That is actually the cul-de-sac.
That
It's
is the right of
cul-de-sac.
way.
So it's the right of way. It's county property.
It's county right of way.
It's county right of way, yeah.
Is that correct, John? No idea.
It's so old. What happened was when the when the land, the builder had it platted and accepted, and what he did was he never built there. So what happened was that 2248, which is land lot 4, the post office came to me and said, "Hey, there's a 2248 day run court behind you in Waverly Woods. I keep delivering mail back there." So I had to change it to 1812 to get my mail. So this is all messed up. So
All right.
that's kind of how this has all happened. He come in later on, you know, when he bought that house.
All right, Mr. Fisher, I tell you, is there somebody else wishing to speak?
I believe so.
Okay, I want to make sure we don't use up all his time. We only have 4 minutes left. So anything else quickly you want to add to that?
No, I just wish you would please consider that just to keep the cul-de-sac in for another house to be put in there. There's plenty enough land to put that in there.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
sir.
much.
Let's hear from the next opposition person. Again, if you would, give us your name, please.
Sure.
first.
Good afternoon. My name is David McCarthy. I actually live in the house that backs up to the proposed lot. So I actually just recently became aware.
Clarification, is that your house that we have the little arrow on?
No, it's not. It is behind, it is on the other side of the creek that runs through the property.
Okay, let's get that.
1674 or 1687?
1674 Barn Swallow Place.
Okay.
It's one
Gotcha.
of two properties that butts up to the proposed lot.
Okay, sir, go right ahead.
Okay. So I'm new to all this as well, so please forgive me if I don't have all the process down. But, you know, both my neighbor and I, he couldn't be here today, the Meisners who live next door to me, you know, have some concerns. I think one is the reduction from 75 to 0, just in general, as a citizen of Marietta, to why, if there's a 75-foot barrier, it would allow it to be reduced to 0 for this specific piece of property. 2, the area in which we live is a very established neighborhood, and I think when you, obviously, you all know this area, you move into this area, you don't expect large new construction in what is basically a, you know, creekside, backyard type of environment. Obviously, Mr. Manley has a right to sell his property that he owns, and I have no problems with that. But I think the slope of the land raises a concern, particularly for my property, and something that would build. It's a very steep grade from the cul-de-sac down to the creek bed, and I would have some serious concerns about runoff, water, and other construction-related issues if that was to go in. In addition to that, I think, as Mr. Manley pointed out, the cost of the cul-de-sac is over $200,000 as it's proposed. That's my understanding. Again, I'm using the numbers from his letter. And as a taxpayer in Marietta, I'm not quite sure why the city or the county would be forfeiting $200,000 so this gentleman could sell his $70,000 piece of land. The sewer is a main concern. Obviously, environmentally, there's a creek that runs through the back of the property that's both runs through my property as well as Mr. Manley's property or behind Mr. Manley's property. Taxes, the sewer, and certainly probably not to the concern of anyone here, but aesthetically speaking, we have one of the more beautiful pieces of property in our backyard that I feel is available in East Cobb, and especially that area. And I would hate to have a house of what would appear to be a very large house just dropped in the middle of this, pretty serene piece of property. So I thank you for your time, and hopefully I've covered everything. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to take them as well.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak in opposition for V62? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Again, I'm going to ask Ms. Trompetti to lead us in that discussion. Christie?
Okay, thank you. This request, I feel, is really straightforward. I think there are some complications related to the fact that there's a public right-of-way here, yet no public road. So I do want to ask some questions about that. But as Mr. Manley stated, when he purchased the property, it was 3 lots, not the 2 that he's requesting. And that was, I'm not sure how many years ago, but it was originally platted apparently for a total of 3 lots, not 2. So I don't think the fact that he's asking to go back to a total of 2 is unreasonable at all. In fact, the way this is laid out, if there were 4 homes, it fits right into the development patterns of the area. There's nothing really odd about it. It's not a tandem situation similar to the one that we heard earlier. It really makes sense aesthetically even to have 4 lots here. I think the complication has to do with the fact that there's a private drive. I don't know what the maintenance agreements are as far as that goes. Who's been maintaining it? It's on public right-of-way. That disturbs me a little bit. But I think having a second lot broken off from the main lot that he combined himself is not an unreasonable request at all. In fact, lot number, what would be 6, I guess, is twice the required size of the zoning district, R20. So I just want to make sure we understand that this is, in my mind anyway, not asking for too much at all. I think it's a matter of what's the best way to get there. And that's where maybe I need to ask either Mr. Peterson or our DOT representative to chime in a little bit. DOT is recommending a cul-de-sac. And maybe, Mr. Meyer, you should come and clarify what that means. And then as far as stormwater management is concerned, they haven't provided any comments on this, but they have reviewed the case, obviously, and the standards would be met during construction. And then the fire department also has comments. But as far as the cul-de-sac is concerned and the pavement, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
We did request, make a recommendation for the driveway or on a public right-of-way be 20 feet wide and the cul-de-sac be 38 feet in radius.
So is that in essence requiring this to be brought up to the standards of every other public road or subdivision street, or is it just?
No, it's less.
Okay, so it can still be a concrete drive similar to what they have, but the appropriate width and with the turnaround.
We're not asking for curb and gutter and sidewalks and all the things you'd usually see on a public street.
Okay, that's where I was a little confused, I think, because I can understand the expense involved in the last person in having to put in the street and the curb and the gutter and all of that. So I think that would probably tie in nicely to what the fire department wants to see as well.
Do we have a situation here where a developer went into this property, laid it out, and then he, for whatever reason, didn't complete it? Is that what we're looking at, John? years ago.
It seems like it. It
Yes,
seems like it was
yeah.
platted.
He walked away. Ms. Williams?
Eric, I'm sorry. If this is county right-of-way, I'll start asking it as you get up here. If this is county right-of-way, the way I understand it, county-owned right-of-way,
It appears to be, yes. The application shows it is right of way and the GIS does
how
as
did he
well.
get permission to put the pavement on it?
I don't know the history of that.
Because it seems a little strange that we would allow the pavement on the county right-of-way without some kind of, John, do you know, was there ever a variance or anything?
We did not find a variance, I guess lot number 4, the Fisher lot. It's my understanding that the developer did plat this, but he never built the road. And in past experience, we found that if there was a platted right-of-way that was never built or maintained by Cobb County, then it may not be Cobb County's property. And I'll let DOT speak to that.
Did you check it, Eric? Is it Cobb County property?
I looked at the application, it showed right of way, it didn't indicate that it was private, so, and then the GIS likewise seems to show it as right of way.
Okay, so it's Cobb County property then.
Eric, would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Eric Meyer, Cobb DOT.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
But
May
I
I-
don't know the legal history of
Yes.
this.
As far as if it's platted and it's recorded, but it's not ever maintained by the county, it's not county property. So the folks that are on this road have a private easement of access because it's platted as such, but it's not considered county property.
So who owns it then?
It's just, actually, this occurs often. There's
I mean,
case
who-
law on it.
yeah,
It's, as I said, it's not owned by, I mean, it's actually would still be in the developer's name, whoever was, whoever owned it. But as I said, because it's platted, the folks that live off of that road have a right of access over it.
So they have public road frontage then?
No, they already
It's
have-
not public because Cobb County hasn't accepted it and maintained it. It's private.
But Cobb County owns it?
Not-
No?
No.
No.
Somebody pay taxes on
They, who pays the taxes?
It's really not, I don't know the answer to that question, actually.
And Tim Pierce just clicked on it on the GIS,
Mhm.
and there are no parcel features for that piece of property.
For the street cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
For the
line.
cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
It leaves a strange question to me then, if it's really zero without public road frontage. You
Is
know
it,
what?
right, because the variance is asking for 0 road
Yeah.
frontage, but it looks like there's a public
Yeah,
right-of-way
so it
anyway.
leaves a
even
que-
though
I mean, I
it's
don't see anything wrong with the variance.
Right.
But it does seem to me like that, how did the other lot get built?
I tell you,
It's a little strange, isn't it?
And our recommendation, whether it is or is not a public road, it has to do more with safety. So
Right.
when
Right.
people pull in and out, 20 feet width
Yeah.
if they're at East Piedmont is important. And then I guess for fire department, that'll be more of an issue. We recommended the sidewalk because that's typically something they prefer.
So,
Okay.
how do they get the perpetual easement? Does anybody know?
It's simply because it was platted as such. So when these folks purchased the home, they purchased it based on the plat that was of record. So it was intended to have a roadway there. So you get the right of use because it was of record. But that's a separate issue than it becoming a public road.
Okay.
Because a public road requires a dedication and acceptance.
Okay.
And in this, there was no acceptance.
Okay.
Ms. Swanson?
I have a question. So if this was platted, it isn't really owned by Cobb County because they're not maintaining it. So then if this is a subdivision, so then do each of these property owners then have responsibility to maintain this road?
No, that's what I asked her 4 questions ago, and
So the property,
we
All right,
don't
let me-
know.
so this
Let-
gentleman built this road, he put in the road that is currently existing.
Yeah, he did, he did with his private money, I'm assuming.
But
Let me see.
but other people use it, so it's
Yeah.
his road that he built, but other people can use it.
That becomes where it's not his, he didn't have an easement to it.
All right, let me
Somehow
see
I'm
if I can
confused.
bring this together for everybody. It sounds to me like there's a lot of questions here. It looks to me like we've got 4 property owners or 5 property owners or 6 property owners in this whole area right there. It seems to me that you as a group need to meet and talk about who owns what, who's going to do what. If the one gentleman has just put the roadway in there, I certainly think that other people should help if they're going to develop that property. I'm not sure I'm ready to move on with this, Christie. I think this might need a little time and a little legal diligence on both sides. But I'm going to turn it over to you. It's your.
Thank you. Well, like I said earlier, the fact that there could be another lot here is really not an issue to me. I think it makes sense. It looks right. So that part of the request, I guess, should be pretty straightforward. But I want to ask Mr. Peterson, do you think we should hold this until we make sure there aren't other variances that would be needed? Or other questions that need to be answered before moving forward? I do think the DOT recommendations need to be adopted as part of any approval. I mean, a wider drive with a nice turnaround is also very reasonable, I think, to request.
Commissioner Trombetti, as far as the variances that were in the book, I think they're both correct, and that's all he probably needs. There's no setback variances, there's no impervious variances, there's
Right.
no other type of variances in here. So I think the variances are good. As far as your question to me about holding it, that would be up to the board to consider that.
But the issues regarding access and maintenance and all of those things of the driveway, that's more, I guess, of a civil matter between the
That's
property owners.
correct.
Is
The
that
property
what
owners who use it have to come to that agreement.
Okay. Okay.
Then
All
I think
right.
we should move ahead on it.
I think we can. I think we can, because sometimes we can create more problems for people if we try to get to.
I probably did.
No, I think that was a very good point, brought up by the owner of Lot 4, and I think it's good information, but I think in this case, given the staff recommendations, I can make a motion that we approve V62, subject to all staff comments and recommendations, which do include the DOT requirements as well as the fire department requirements.
I'll second that.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any other comments, board members? Call for the vote. Okay, that's approved 4-1, home and dissents. All right, let's go to our last one. Or next to last one. Where are we, John?
Next to last one.
66.
Variance case V66, Larry Seawright requests a variance to allow an accessory structure, existing frame shed to be closer to the side street right-of-way line than the principal building, and waive the rear setback from required 35 feet to 23 feet in land lot 488 of the 18th District. The property is located at the northern intersection of Catherine Court and Sybil Drive. The applicant is present. Earlier, there's one person opposed. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
All right, everybody's going to give testimony, come forward, we'll get you sworn in. Okay.
Let the record show there are 4 people opposed.
All right, sir, if you would, give us your name, please, first.
My name is Larry Seawright.
All right, sir, tell us what you want.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I had that building built, but I was away in the military, and I purchased it through Home Depot, and it was subcontracted when it was built. I wasn't there when it was built. I wasn't there when it was finished, but I did come back home and visit from the military. And I recently had the property replatted, very recently. And the problem is that the way the house is situated and the way it's built in 1973, it doesn't allow the shed to fit in the back because there's no clearance. To the right of that, facing out, is a ravine and a wood line, and then the road, and then to the back of that, which is north, which is situated with my neighbor's home. So what happened when I was served the variance notice, I began working on the removal process. So I had someone to come out, survey and look at it, and they said that they couldn't move it. They wanted $2,500, but they said that they could only move it like 4 or 5 feet because of the clearance to the front, to the back, and to the right. So I was pretty much stuck with it at that time. And so what happened, the shed remains to the right of the dwelling, which is to the right of my home. And what happened, Mr. Chairman, I've been serving my country for over 35 years. I've probably moved 100 times, been to several other countries, to include numerous states in the U.S., and I've accumulated and I've accrued sentimental values and things that I store in it. I just returned from Afghanistan the end of last year, and I've secured some more things in there. My concern, Mr. Chairman, is that due to the hardship of not being able to move it, is that I would say that it's in my plan in the near future to relocate. And once I relocate, I would sell and have that building or that shed removed and try and recover some of my monies or funds that I had spent in it to begin with. And that's my concern and appeal, Mr. Chairman, and the board.
Okay, anything else you want to tell us, sir?
Well, it matches. I painted it. I've had positive comments on it, even though it sits to the right of the house. But it doesn't look awkward and odd. It's just a 2-story shed that sits there to the right of my house, and so I store my things in it. So with those kind of comments, it's that there was hope that I could leave it there in place, but if there's a technicality and out of concerned hearts, then once again, I would have it removed once I sell my property and move on and be with my ill mother.
Okay. Let me ask quickly. The house was built in 1973, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What year was this shed or put up?
On around 2005, and again, I was away with the military when it was built.
And how long have you lived in the house, sir?
I moved in the house, I purchased the house in 1994, so this is my 22nd, 23rd year of living in that house.
All right. All right, anything else you want to tell us, sir?
No, sir. I thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman, and the board.
Okay, if you just have a seat, we'll hear from the opposition now.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll hear from the opposition. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition to this case, come forward. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. All right, sir, if you would give us your name, please.
Ralph Valentine.
Valentine, Mr. Valentine, okay.
I don't know which direction is which, but we'll call his house to the west, which puts me directly to the east of him.
Okay, let's see. Your next door neighbor, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
There's, if the house was built in 73, and we've got this sunroom on the back,
okay,
which was built between 73 and the time he purchased it, or it was built at the time that he purchased it, approximately. How is it the title company, the mortgage company, the lawyers never caught it being encroaching on the lot line?
Yeah, is that in reference to the shed? We're here about the shed. That's all we're here on.
Well, the sunroom is encroaching the back property line, as is the fence, as is the trailer, which is supposed to be on concrete, because the whole neighborhood just went through a big mess with somebody calling in Christmas, the day before Christmas, creating a stink to where everybody in the whole neighborhood got rode up on a bunch of baloney.
Okay, so let's stick with the issue now. So
the issue is, what?
Yes, sir.
He had the building built and put in. If it's in the wrong place, that's on him. On top of that, which he didn't tell you, there is a second shed built onto the first shed.
Yes, sir. I've seen that.
That's not right.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us?
He should move it.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Valentine, you want to tell us?
Nope, that'll do it.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Next person would like to speak in opposition. All right, ma'am, give me your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Toki Wells Huff. I live on 6990 Sybil Drive, and I'm a corner lot. And I wish I could point to you. The side of my house faces the side of his house. He says it's a shed. I say it's a barn. And it is a barn. I worked one day, I came home late in the evening, and it was already up. And I didn't know anything about codes or how to ask him to remove it or anything, but after the code violators came in and gave everybody their warnings, that's when I found out. And then when they mentioned about a variance for his barn, I said no, because if I want to sell my house 2 months from now, someone's got to come down Sybil Drive and see that barn. Would you want a barn right at your house? I wouldn't want a barn at my house, and I don't want a barn there. And that's my concern. My other concern is not only is it a barn, it's an attachment to the barn. And the attachment to the barn, just like I said, when I came home from one day's teaching, it was already up. When I came home another time, the attachment was already there. So I never got a chance to say no. It was there, and it was on his property.
Now,
And to me, that's not fair to the rest of the community, nor to me, because it's right across the street from my home.
Now, was that back in '05, ma'am?
Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
I couldn't begin
So
to
it's
tell
10,
you.
it's been there for 10 years.
I can't tell you if it was 10 years or not.
Okay.
Because when I came, I was taking care of my mother who had Alzheimer's.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you're doing that, that's a lot of work. And I have a daughter that I had to raise too.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you the exact year. But I can tell you that when I came home, it was already up. And who to ask about someone building on their own property, I didn't have time for that.
Okay.
But then when the code violators came and they said, hey, he's asking for a variance, I wanted to be here at this meeting to say, please vote no.
Okay.
You wouldn't want a barn in your neighborhood.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please. Anybody else wishing to speak in opposition to this case, come forward. All right, hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. And I'll lead the discussion because I represent the district. Mr. Seatwright, if you come back up, please. Up at the podium, sir. Evidently, listening to the folks in opposition, there must have been a sweep of your neighborhood by code enforcement. Is that correct? Is that how we caught this? Is that how that got started?
That's what I was told by the code enforcer that came out, sir.
Okay.
He said he had 9 people on his team that day.
And I have, and periodically, let me just explain this, Cobb County does that, Mr. Peterson, where if they have complaints in a certain neighborhood, that they will go out in force and go through the whole neighborhood and pick up all the variances and all the problems at one time. So that's not unusual. I wanted to point that out to the folks. But evidently, the first problem that the code enforcement folks, was that you had cars parked on a non-hardened surface. I do see that has been corrected. Would you tell us what you've done to correct that?
Well, I only had 1 vehicle parked on the grass when the code enforcer came by. Everything else was on the in the driveway. So I poured 2 slabs. and pull another vehicle off the driveway and put it on my 2 slabs.
And that
Of
has been,
concrete.
and for the purpose of the discussion here today, that has been completed, and that was
Yes.
done,
Over a month ago,
okay.
2 months ago.
Now, the building in reference was built, again, your testimony was in 2005, is that when that Home
Yes,
Depot
sir.
building was put up, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I was away from home in the military, but I think it was a bit around that time.
Okay, I understand that point. When did you add on the little addition on the back of that?
Maybe within a year after that, because I accrued more things because I was traveling with the military along with my family.
Now, listening to your neighbors here today, obviously, when we're finished, you got to go home to your neighborhood. They're going to go home to your neighborhood. You know, we'd like to see everybody get along. Now, in order to do that, you indicated that you're coming up on full retirement. Are you still active duty in the military?
On and active, I just came back from Afghanistan in last year, so I'm on call and whatnot.
All right, I guess my question is, when do you expect to retire?
In the next 3 to 4 years, fully
And when you
retired.
retire, are you going to remain on that property? Or are you going to leave that property?
No, sir, it's not in my plan to remain in that neighborhood and on that property. I'm
That-
going to relocate, sir, to where my ill mother is.
Okay, now what I want to try to do is I want to try, as we all try to do, is to make everybody happy up here. We're not always successful, but we do want to try. What I'm going to suggest to you is that little addition you put on the back, that if I gave you 60 days to remove that small addition that's on the back of the building, I think that would be acceptable to your neighbors. And also, I'm going to recommend to this board that you continue to have this barn, this barn that was built in '05, to remain on the property, but at such time when you sell the property, that the barn or the outbuilding would be taken down. Are you agreeable to that, sir?
Yes, sir.
I think that would be a fair compromise with that. And with that said, I'd like to ask any discussion from our fellow members here. Any comments or questions or suggestions?
I have a question.
Miss Trombetti.
I like the idea of you're removing the shed when you move,
The little addition.
or any
Oh,
of it.
oh, I'm
But
sorry.
I'm concerned about that stipulation being implemented, because how are we supposed to know when he sells his home? How is the buyer of your home supposed to know that you agreed to remove a shed and whether or not you remove it? I think that's gonna be a difficult thing to enforce.
I think Mr. Peterson can answer that, because we have done this in the past with garages, John, haven't we? As metal building garages. How did we handle that in the past?
We have put conditions on properties in the past, I think for the carport issue.
Yes.
That when a property sells, the carport has to be removed.
Yeah.
And it really, the burden for us to know when the property sells is on the seller of the property. Because we don't keep track of that.
So he could sell his house next week and somebody can buy it and never know that that was a requirement of the sale. There's nothing in the record, nobody would have any way of knowing. Right, right. They buy
Well,
the house, I love
well-
the shed, and then all of a sudden they find out that they're not
Well,
supposed to have.
understand that we have done this before. This is not
Okay.
new.
I'm just
But
saying.
by the same token, I think we've got to have faith in individuals. And again, that issue, that if they did want that building, the new property owner has a right to come back and ask for variance. So we're not going to deny them, but I'm looking for a compromise here, and in my mind, I think this would be good. For those of you that haven't been on the property, let me tell you, I've been out there. I do represent the district. I've been in that area a number of times. I have been to this gentleman's property a couple of times. And it seems to me it has been well kept. It seems to me that this gentleman has spent some money in primarily putting in the pavers and the concrete to make sure the cars were parked in the right place. I don't know why code enforcement picks a different, or selects an area to go through where they go through and write tickets for everybody, but it does happen. If they have complaints, they have to go and act on those complaints. And sometimes they do what is called a sweep in that particular area. So I think those of you that have been out there and looked at the property, it seems to me it's well-maintained. It seems to me that this gentleman does have a legitimate hardship with a creek running through the property. I don't know where else he could put that building and be in compliance. It was a Home Depot building. He is willing to compromise by immediately taking off the back part of the little addition, and he's agreed that when he sells the property, he will remove the house, will remove the building. That's good faith, and that's all I can go on. Mr. Gunther.
I'd just like to add that I've been out there to look at it, and it does look, it fits in nicely, I think, from what I see. It's well-maintained and so forth. And I would expect, from what you said, that your intentions would be to continue that until such time as you either move out of there or it gets torn down. So that's my only comment, is I've seen it, and I think to me, it looks like it fits in, and I have a suspicion that when there are leaves on the trees around there, that it's more difficult to see. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, with that said, Ms. Williams?
First of all, thank you for your service to our country.
Welcome. Thank you, ma'am.
When did you say you were going to retire?
In the next 3 to 4 years, if not sooner.
What if we put a time limit of 24 months?
That's not, I mean, it's unrealistic because I don't know the shape of my career. I could be called right now to go to Afghanistan.
I understand.
And then I can't move my family to Afghanistan.
Right.
But I know because of my time in service, I have an MRD, a mandatory removal date.
Right.
And it's 2018. So I could go between 2019 back to 2016. So between 16 and 19, I would be out of the state of Georgia.
What about landscaping around it? Could you put some trees around it, something landscaping?
Well, I'm gonna move the building once I sell the property. I thought about landscaping, but I spent a lot of money in maintaining that property and pouring those 2 concrete slabs and maintaining the property and whatnot. So I don't have a lot of money left.
All right, thank you.
I don't know what the property looked like 4 or 5 months ago, but the property looks up to date. As a matter of fact, that whole neighborhood looks nice. I'd be proud to live in that neighborhood. It's very nice. With that said, I want to make a motion that we approve V66 with the following recommendations. One is that within 60 days after this approval, that Mr. Seawright remove the small attachment to the shed. Do that within 60 days. That upon retirement and selling of the property, that he will remove the outbuilding off the property at that time. And it's a good faith issue. We're putting good faith in you. We expect you to put good faith in us. I'd also add in there all staff recommendations were not in conflict. And again, I want to add this wording that there's to be no living out of that building and certainly no business to be conducted out of that building. And that would be my motion. And I have a second by Mr. Gunther. I'd like to add at this time, before I take the vote, that I appreciate Mr. Valentine and Ms. Wells Huff coming and the other folks coming here at this time. The issue of the sunroom is not before us, so I can't do anything about that, and it seems to be okay. So I have a motion. I have a second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is a 5-0 vote. And we appreciate it. Thank you,
Mr.
folks,
Chairman,
very
Board.
much for coming. Sir, if you just wait until after the meeting, I'll be happy to talk to you. All right, John, do I have anything else? I have one more case to come before us.
One more
I
case,
believe.
Mr. Chairman. Variance case V67, covered bridge at Barnes Mill Condominium Association Incorporated. Request a variance to reduce the landscape buffer from 40 feet to 30 feet to allow permeable flagstone patios and soldered rear yards to be allowed within the 40-foot landscape buffer in land lots 48 and 97 of the 17th district. The property is located on the north side of Aunt Lucy Lane, east of Fisher Drive, and at the southern terminus of Russell Street. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case V67? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
All right, sir, for the purpose of the record, give us your name.
I'm Colby Henson. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Swear man. Oh, Mr. Chairman,
Colby Henson.
we need to get you sworn in first.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, now that we got you sworn in, you're going to tell us the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Is that right?
Correct.
Tell us who you are and tell us what you want.
I'm Colby Henson. I represent Covered Bridge at Barnes Mill, condominium associations and the unit owners. We developed and built out Covered Bridge at Barnes Mill from 2005 to the present. It's a mixed-use community comprising approximately 400 homes in a mixed single-family townhome, condominium, and retail configuration. Can we go to slide 1? The next slide. This is the land plan for Covered Bridge at Barnes Mill. Where the subject arrow is the landscape buffer behind the last 6 units in the condominium portion of the community on the northern edge of the property. As we were constructing these 6 buildings, Cobb County building officials received a call notifying them that we should not be allowed to put patios in the landscape buffer. We had already poured some concrete patios, so we demolished and removed those patios. Go to slide 2, the variance plat. This is the variance plat, slide 2. As you can see from the variance plat, the rear of our homes abuts the landscape buffer, which is shown in yellow on the plat. That's the 40-foot landscape buffer right against the back of the homes. Any patio that would be constructed behind the homes would encroach into the landscape buffer. In addition, the hardship in this case relates to the shape of these 6 lots. The lot depth, when coupled with the restrictive buffer and the slope behind these homes, would not allow our typical and approved house plans to be constructed with a modest patio off of the back doors. Can we go to the next slide? Slide 3. We replaced the impervious patios that were torn up, and we replaced those with natural materials consisting of flagstone and river rock, no underlying concrete, making them completely pervious. Our thought was these natural pervious materials would be viewed as landscape materials. We also diminished the size and depth of the patios, but tried to create a reasonable outdoor living space for the homeowners. We completed these homes and all of them closed and or are currently under contract. About 45 days ago, we received another complaint. We were issued a citation that said we may be in violation of a landscape encroachment. We contacted staff and they informed us we would need to come file this variance request. Slide 4. This is a view from the complainant's property that abuts behind the landscape buffer to the north. We met with the surrounding homeowners, all of which signed the consent, no objection of the variance request, except for one person, Ms. Busby. Had a cordial meeting with her, observed the view from her perspective. As you can see, this is her house with the brown siding. That is her view. Where the arrow is, that's the top of the roof of the units in question. We could see some gaps where they were partially visible. I told Ms. Busby we'd be more than happy to plant material in those gaps and increase the density to further buffer that area so it couldn't be seen. Next slide. This is the landscape plan. The top one above the black demarcation is the approved landscape buffer. Below that is the enhanced landscape buffer. The top one, it consists of 99 loblolly pines, 66 wax myrtle bushes, and it totals 39.6 units. After meeting with Ms. Busby, we hired Bilson Associates Landscape Architects to make a recommendation on how to densify that buffer area. Mr. Bilson visited the site, and what you see is the enhanced version below, and it consists of adding 17 5-foot Virginia pines, 21 5-foot green giant arborvitae. So our plantings total now 44.4 units, an increase of about 12% from what our approved required buffer requirements were originally. Enhanced plan consists of more diverse, higher quality variety of plantings than the initial plan. And as a gesture of good faith, we went ahead and planted the additional plants to provide that buffer. Next slide, 6. This is a photograph of what the buffer looks like now with the additional. You might be able to see from the photos, patios are approximately 12 to 15 feet in elevation below the complainant's property, enhances the effectiveness of the buffer, and it shields the view of the outdoor areas from the homes. We believe after making these changes and everything that we've provided an effective visual buffer. Even in the dead of winter, when that photograph was taken. Ms. Busby was obviously, may be here to speak for herself, but it's my impression after meeting, she was primarily concerned that we needed a variance at all, and that it was a variance from the plan. So we take responsibility for the oversight on those shorter lots up against the landscape buffer, but at the same time, despite the scope of this project, we've realized that we need space for patios for those homeowners. We've done that to try to remediate that and create a denser appeal. I respectfully request that the board grant the variance to allow the pervious patios and dimensions shown on the variance plat. And any additional stipulation, we agree to the additional plantings outlined in my letter to Mr. Peterson and the board dated March 30th. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here in opposition to this particular case, V67? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. I'll lead the discussion. I represent this district. I recognize Mr. Skip Harper's here in the audience. I was lucky enough and privileged enough years ago, I don't know how many years ago, Skip, 10, 12 years ago, when we zoned this property. This has been an absolute successful development in the South Cobb area. This is off of the East-West Connector. Skip and his cohorts, Triton Homes, built homes across the street that are absolutely sold out immediately. This other part of the property is under development, and you have done a first-class job in there. This is the type of thing that we were in desperate need of, and it's been wildly successful. A number of us have gone out and looked at this particular property. We see where you made a mistake, you took the concrete out, you went back in, put the impervious surface pavers in there, and it's just an absolute delight to the community. So I take great privilege in thanking you for your presentation. I want to make a motion that we approve this case based on all staff comments. And the letter dated?
March 30th.
March 30th.
Correct.
Okay. Second, Ms. Williams. Any other comment? Not hearing any. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's approval, 5-0. John, where am I? Okay, today is April Fool's Day, so we're going to get the fools out of here quickly now, how we can all go have a good time. But the last thing to come before us is two special call meetings. They were both dated on March the 30th, and I'll entertain a motion to approve both of those. I make a motion, and Kim Swanson says she said she'd be delighted to it. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now, folks, it is Easter Sunday coming up this week. I want all the good people. I'll see you all at church, and everybody smile and have a great weekend and happy Easter.